My two girls, Athena and Bella. I adopted Athena after my mom passed away. The Rottweiler. Bella, my Chihuahua, didn't like it much at first. It took a month, but Athena, being 3 years old, taught Bella, who is 9, how to play together. Now they get along a lot better. Bella still rules the house at 7 pounds, and she's not afraid of Athena. Athena amusingly looks at her when Bella barks at her and wonders what she's doing. She takes it all in stride. She's very gentle and loving, yet protective. I thought I had a vicious guard dog before with Bella, but now I have a real guard dog, not only with the bark but a bite to back it up. I do feel safer with Athena here. Funny how life is. On the 23rd, it will be 4 months since my mom passed. It doesn't quite seem possible. 74 is just too young. I wish we had had more time. So many things yet to do, so many places to see, so many dreams not yet fulfilled. Manifesto of love. Our time is so limited on earth, yet we fill it with meaningless things. So much sadness, pain and terror, so much war and conflict and hatred. Some are fortunate indeed to spend time with their loved ones, not having to struggle to survive. But most of us spend our days working and toiling away, trying to get ahead while those around us get older and pass away. Such is life. Que sera sera, whatever will be, will be. I dream of a new earth and a new heaven where everyone is free, and we have time to pursue our creative interests through love, joy, and peace. Although suffering is one of the 4 noble truths in Buddhism, and is also in the Bible in Romans chapter 5 verse 12, suffering is a result of human sin against God. The Bhagavad Gita says, "We tolerate this temporary suffering just as your body is not permanent, so your diseases are also not permanent." You should tolerate the temporary suffering and solve the real problem. You must stop your repetition of birth and death. The root cause of suffering. The misuse of free will is the root cause of misery. The Quran states that suffering is a fundamental part of human life and can be crucial for several reasons. Although our world religions and spiritual philosophies abound with why we have suffering, I can't wait to have a face-to-face with the creator of the universe to talk about ending this whole suffering business. Looking to history, thinking about the plague, and nearly 50% of the European population died as a result, and to the Holocaust of nearly all Jews in Europe exterminated. One was a disease, the other by a man and his regime. Why did Hitler hate Jews and try to create what he thought was a master race? What kind of soul sickness pervades an individual to murder millions of people? This is just one instance of one man and a regime that would change world history. As we look back through time, there are many that have risen to power that have a deep and perverse soul sickness that have wreaked havoc on humanity. In their mind, they are cleansing the world and making it better in their own image. Lust for power, driven by madness. And to think that over 13 million soldiers followed Hitler is inconceivable. In history, we have seen genocide in the modern world and going back as far as oral and written histories. Do we want to go back in time as a global community to the horrors that we have seen that can and will happen again if we do not learn from the past, as they are happening now to a smaller and greater degree throughout the world and in communities? There is an uprising of hatred, and there is a growing acceptance to separate people by race, gender, and class. Not only is our country divided, but our world is divided. There is a mentality of us versus them, but there is no us and there is no them. There is only we. What is clear is that there are people in the world who not only have good intentions and are helping others to grow in every possible good way through the teaching of acceptance and non-violence, unconditional love, and growing to become the fullest and best and highest expressions of themselves in every good way. And then there are those who seek to diminish, divide, to conquer, to destroy, to separate through anger and hatred while promoting what they say is the worldview that all should accept, and they try to impress upon others with domination and violence. Whatever party you may be on, or none at all, we must pray for the truth to be revealed in our leaders. My prayer is for the truth to be revealed to the American public at this time, for our leaders to be able to see deeply into their souls for what is driving them, and to the leaders throughout the world for their countries to see them as they are, the truth. And if they are operating from a higher level of humanitarian good and the highest and best interest of its people, or if they are seeking to dominate and install their worldview upon others through oppression by military and police force. The balance between good and evil is tenuous, and we are teetering on world destruction. We have the means and the power necessary to completely destroy and obliterate the world. It can and will happen if we are to let insanity and madness lead us. As we can see, as we look throughout the world and right here in the United States of America, the tensions among people, the tensions among classes, the tensions among political parties. We have seen the face of evil in the past, and we do not have to look too far. We are not beyond history repeating itself and such madness overcoming our country and other countries in the world. It has happened before. It is happening now. We have seen people burned at the stakes, drowned and hanged for their religious beliefs right here in the United States. We have seen the installation and the power of the church entering government. We have seen people beaten and killed for the color of their skin, or who they are, or who they choose to love. We are moving far away from our Constitution and the First Amendment that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. At this time, the Republican Party is seeking to create an official religion. It is evident as we are seeing the choices of the unbalanced Supreme Court, as we are seeing laws that are limiting the freedoms of women and LGBTQIA people, the elderly, and minorities. By attacking minority groups and those with less political and economic power, they begin to empower and embolden others to join the cause as they slowly take hold in the minds of their followers. To take advantage of those who are easily controlled through subliminal messaging and psychological tactics. We must be aware of propaganda and now the installation of laws that define the enemy as a cohesive group, achieving the goals of the new regime. There are campaigns of hatred that have been incited and cultivated, creating an atmosphere that tolerates violence against others. The enemies being defined now are women, the elderly, and all minorities. The GOP has a war on woke. They have a war on the truth, history, and the realities of our present circumstances. They want to put their head in the sand and simply erase the past as if it didn't happen, and that the past has no bearing upon what we are now seeing in terms of racial injustice and broad inequality. That's like saying the Holocaust didn't happen and that Hitler was a saint. It's total insanity and a flight from reality. From 2017 to 2021, this was pervasive. The spread of disinformation through propaganda, just like Hitler and the glory of the Third Reich, alleging the problem of moral decay within the United States. But this is a fallacy and could not be further from the truth. The techniques employed by Hitler, name-calling, guilt by association, card stacking, scapegoating, smear campaigning, making it difficult to distinguish truth from fallacy. CSUN University has a wonderful paper that came out in our own backyard, Resisting Nazi Propaganda, Southern California, 1933 to 1945, which clearly illustrates what was happening at the time, and we can see what is happening now. Not only was the hatred of Jews pervasive during that time in Europe and Germany, but it made its way to the United States through documentaries, pamphlets, cartoon booklets, motion pictures, radio shows, and lectures written and produced both in the United States and abroad. We can compare the hatred of the Jews at the time to the hatred of many now who are disenfranchised through the GOP. At the time, Nazism theorized that Jews possessed indelible characteristics that prevented them from ever becoming an acceptable part of society. Therefore, faced with a hopeless situation, Hitler used radical anti-Semitism to justify the final solution. And we are seeing that now with the expelling of LGBTQIA and trans children and people throughout many states, through women's reproductive rights being taken away, through the separation and installation of racism in all facets of a future government that is aimed at bringing back what they call traditional family values. When the truth is that we have progressed to a point of respecting and embracing diversity enough to allow same-sex marriage and the beginning of understanding the plight of transgender people through the trials and tribulations endured by many who were once children and now advocating to help young people to better understand themselves, rather than live in fear and be a victim to suicide, depression, and violence against them. The view that LGBTQIA are immoral or inherently bad or wrong is a pervasive religious doctrine being impressed upon others oppressively. Sexuality and gender are no more moral issues than what religion you are or your ethnicity. One has no choice in such a matter. Countries that prohibit abortion include Andorra, Malta, El Salvador, Honduras, Senegal, Egypt, Philippines, and Laos. Countries that have significant restrictions on abortion access are Libya, Iran, Indonesia, Venezuela, and Nigeria. In Iran, abortion is forbidden by Islamic law and post-revolutionary Iranian law. There are 64 countries that have laws that criminalize homosexuality, and nearly half of these are in Africa. Many of these laws come from colonial times. As of 2020, there were 37 countries that criminalized transgender people. Sad to think the times we're living in, that a third of the world is so far behind and living in the past. And still, as of 2022, 178 countries have legal barriers that prevent women from fully participating in the economy, and women globally have only 3/4 of the legal rights afforded to men. Yemen has been ranked as the worst country in the world for gender equality. Who or what are we modeling our country after? What kind of world and society do we want to leave to future generations? Do we want to have an inclusive society where everyone has a voice? Or do we want it to be divisive and divided? Do we want to have a world of cultural, racial, and religious tensions where others kill and harm in the name of their God, imprison and harm others, and ridicule and shame? Do we look to dictatorships and authoritarian regimes that seek to diminish, devalue, and dehumanize? Or do we look to those who embrace a global and humanitarian view to uplift and heal this world? The choice is yours. I have seen visions of a global third world war in my dreams, one where it is the final end and destruction of our planet. What I have seen is the true fight between good and evil, between angels and demons, and between human free will and higher consciousness. We must act now to save ourselves from global destruction. It starts with the growing of love in the heart, with embracing global and humanitarian views where all are loved and accepted. It begins by healing the divide and division among classes and races, gender and religion, and spiritual beliefs by bridging cultural gaps, by honoring and respecting one another, by making sure everyone has equal rights and equal access to food, water, shelter, to benefits through taxation programs that enrich society and uplift communities of all people. So that instead of just surviving and trying to live, each person may be able to contribute to society with all of their gifts and talents to make the world and their communities a better place. We must act now to save ourselves from global destruction. It starts with the growing of love in the heart, with embracing global and humanitarian views where all are loved and accepted. It begins by healing the divide and division among classes and races, gender and religion, and spiritual beliefs by bridging cultural gaps, by honoring and respecting one another, by making sure everyone has equal rights and equal access to food, water, shelter, to benefits through taxation programs that enrich society and uplift communities of all people. So that instead of just surviving and trying to live, each person may be able to contribute to society with all of their gifts and talents to make the world and their communities a better place. Just simply love our neighbors as ourselves, love your neighbor as thyself. We must practice the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is the world in which I am living and working to create through my own actions, through my communications, my prayers. I pray that we all reach that place. With my body and soul, I vote for love and for God to heal the insanity of division and restore balance, where we all have a seat at the table, not only with God, but in our government and global community. Sincerely, Paula Josephine Sadler, inspirational author, speaker and singer, spiritual and community activist, founder of Love 8U Foundation, elevating love on the planet.